The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning.
Welcome to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast, where prepping doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. Coming to you from a well-defended off-grid compound high in the mountains. Coming to you from his Florida room in Richmond, Virginia. Neither off-grid nor well-defended, unless you count as chickens and cats. Here is your host, Keith.
Hey folks, it's Keith with the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast, June 23rd, 2025. This podcast is going to be a little bit different, mostly a bunch of administrative things. However, I will have a couple things I want to talk about in the end, but I want to take some time, take a few minutes to thank everybody who has taken time out of their busy day to listen to my podcasts. Here's a couple statistics. I'm just going to go like the last month or two. About 75% of the downloads are from the United States, 7% out of Canada, 3% out of the UK, 3% in Australia, hello down under, Denmark, Germany, Puerto Rico, Sweden, New Zealand, Colombia. And here's some of the top cities: San Antonio, Texas, Philly, Denver, Chicago, New Sydney, South Wales, Charlotte, North Carolina, Mount Vernon, Ohio. And I'm going to go back, and the newest members we have are from Islington, Wausau, Wisconsin, Hutto, Texas, Mount Vernon, Ohio, Perth, Western Australia, Port Townsend, Washington, Seattle, Vancouver, BC, College Station, Texas, and Los Angeles, California. So thank you, everybody, not just the folks in those countries, cities, and states, but thank you so much for taking time to come out and listen. I have a lot of people all over the world, and I'm glad to be able to share my knowledge of prepping. Again, the whole premise of the podcast is that prepping does not have to be complicated. It does not have to be expensive. And when I started this a couple years ago, I wanted to keep the podcast relatively short, which is why in the last year or so, I've done the your 1-minute survival tip. But I've kind of got away from that, and now they're 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 minutes long. I certainly try not to get into politics. But again, as I've said before, it's very difficult to talk about current events and not have politics kind of creep into it. I try my best. I don't want to take sides, but with current events, it's very difficult not to take sides. It's very difficult not to get frustrated with politicians either here in the United States or across the globe. On both sides of the aisle, Republican, Democrat, left, right, liberal, conservative, they're all just a bunch of knuckleheads. And for the most part, I can trust them as far as I can throw them. So again, folks, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. When I started this a long time ago, I had no idea that it would become as popular as it has, relatively speaking. Now, compared to other podcasts out there, especially those that talk about prepping and SHTF situations, I'm pretty sure I'm at the bottom of the ladder when it comes to downloads and viewership or listenership or whatever you want to call it. But again, I'm over the moon over the fact that 5 people decide to click on it and listen to me ramble and my head rattle. I really do appreciate it. I know everybody's time is very valuable, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day whenever you happen to download, whenever you happen to listen to these. Again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. If you ever want to contact me, and I get emails from time to time, it's not like my Gmail account, I'm getting alerts saying it's about ready to overflow and crush my hard drive by any stretch, but practicalpreppodcast@gmail.com. I will answer those as quickly as I can. I'm not a real popular podcaster, so it's not like we got cookies and advertisers and I'm selling your information to other people. I will personally answer each and every email as soon as I can. So Practical Prep Podcast, that's a handful or a mouthful, Practical Prep Podcast at gmail.com. Again, thank you so much. All right, a couple things about current events. I know last week I talked about the Israeli airstrikes upon Iran and whether the United States was going to get involved. Well, as we know, 36 hours ago, maybe not 36 hours ago, a bunch of B-2 bombers, bunch of bunker busters. Say that fast. Bunker busters? See, I can't even say that. Bunker busters were dropped on the three nuclear facilities, the uranium enrichment facilities in Iran, and apparently they've been blown to pieces, and we don't have to worry about that anymore. Again, not taking sides. My opinion on what we should be doing and what we should not be doing has really no bearing on this podcast. Now, I did mention that if we were to bomb Iran, a potential retaliation would be Iran trying to restrict maritime navigation through the Straits of Hormuz. Now, they're talking about doing that, but I'm not sure. See, the Iranian Navy wasn't exactly one of the top 200 navies in the world. I think they got a bunch of old PT boats from World War II, maybe a couple old Russian destroyers or something like that, but they do not have a very formidable navy there in going through the straits. However, there are thousands of ships every week that navigate that narrow straits to get in and out of that particular area. I don't know how many miles across it is, but it's relatively shallow in some sections, and it's not very wide. So it's an area that can easily be blockaded, and they have done that before. So they've threatened to do that. And remember, all they have to do is threaten to do it. And the oil companies will take that as a cue. Oh, we're going to raise the price of a barrel of oil. And therefore, there goes the price of gas here in the United States and maybe across the world going right through the roof. So they're talking about doing that. I'm not sure if they're going to do that. Something I heard today that I didn't know, that China purchases a lot of crude from Iran. They are a pretty big customer with Iran. And of all the output from Iran, 1/3 of that goes to China. Now, I don't think that they're going to blockade the Straits of Hormuz and be like, okay, well, south, no, you can't go. No. Oh, there's a Chinese ship. There's a ship with the Chinese flag. All right, fellas, come on through. Ship flying the flag of Great Britain. No, you can't. Here comes somebody from new Australians. No, you guys can't come through. I don't think they're going to get to that point. I don't think they're going to pick and choose who goes through. Now, the U.S. Navy has a strong presence over there, and I don't think that they're going to put up with any shenanigans with the Iranian Navy putting a blockade on the straits. Don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we necessarily have to worry about that, but any opportunity that OPEC and some of the other countries will take to raise the price of a barrel of crude, they absolutely will do that. So we'll see the next 48, 72 hours exactly what happens. I don't think they're going to, but stranger things have happened. All right, let's talk about the weather here in Central Virginia. 100 degrees today. It was 95 yesterday, and Tuesday, 100 degrees. Wednesday, 101, 102. Now, I'm not originally from Virginia, originally from Indiana, so I can deal with the heat. I can deal with humidity. I'm not as young as I used to be. Now, I'm not exactly a spring chicken, nor do I necessarily have 1 foot in the grave. But as you get older, my tolerance for heat and humidity goes down a lot. But I'll grin and bear it, and we'll get through it like we always have. Now, as far as my chickens, they are suffering from heat stress, and I'm really worried about the chickens. I've got fans going all over the place, changing their water multiple times a day, trying to make sure that they're not overly stressed from the heat. If you have chickens, or you know folks that have chickens, you can tell when chickens get heat stressed. Now, they'll take their wings and they'll kind of put their wings out to get a little bit of a draft under their wings, kind of like us in the summertime or in the fall. When you get too hot, you'll unzip your jacket, something to that effect. That's very similar. Chickens do not sweat. Chickens do not perspire. If you ever picked up a chicken, even in the wintertime, their feet are super, super warm. That's really that and their comb, the floppy thing on the top of their head, that dissipates heat, but they dissipate a lot of heat through their feet, believe it or not. So if you ever have a chance, if you have chickens, it's hot, try to get them to walk in water. I hose the yard down so they see water, they think worms. So they were walking through the grass today and walking through the water, and it cooled them down a little bit. If you ever see a chicken with the wings out and a chicken with their beak open, like they're panting, that is a serious sign of a very serious heat stress situation. It's kind of like a dog that pants, with the exception of that's how dogs dissipate heat. They actually pant. Chickens don't pant, but that's just kind of a reaction. They're trying to exchange air, and since they don't do it very well, it's not very efficient. So I'm kind of worried about the chickens. I get them to stay in the shade, but there's only so much I can do. I keep the air circulating. I keep fresh, cool water, frozen fruit cocktail, frozen corn. I'm going to scramble some eggs in a few minutes and put them in the fridge. So when I go out tomorrow, super duper early, just as the sun is coming up, I'm going to give them some scrambled eggs that I've had in the fridge to give them a lot of protein. So hopefully they can eat that and start digesting. Because as you know, even humans, when we eat and we digest our food, that creates heat. That's the last thing I want to do, is have those chickens creating more heat when it's 101 degrees out. But other than that, they're doing very well. As you know, about a month or so ago, I purchased 2 more chickens that I said I was not going to purchase. But unfortunately, I lost not Buttercup. Lost Buttercup a while ago. Bubbles, I lost Bubbles about a little over a month ago. I lost Bubbles. She was the chicken that had the stroke, and she couldn't walk. And I actually gave her physical therapy, if you can believe that. I gave a chicken physical therapy, and I was able to get her walking again, and she started laying again. But she had trouble walking, so she walked like a penguin. She walked upright, which was a very odd way to see a chicken walk, but that's how she compensated. So she got back in the coop with everybody else, and she was doing great, but she was having trouble from time to time laying her eggs because she couldn't lay down in the nesting box like chickens normally sit down and lay. She kind of stood up, kind of like us squatting. Didn't work very well for her. She got egg bound a few times, but we got past that. But unfortunately, the last time, and again, it's been about a month or so ago, I went out and she had what's called a blowout. Basically, her insides were then outside. Now, it is very, very rare for a chicken to be able to recover from that. But I gave it a shot. She was still in a decent mood. She was still eating. She was still drinking. Then again, she's an animal, so that's what she knows to do. I even gloved up and put her insides back inside, but the damage had already been done and they didn't stay. So unfortunately, I had to put her down. So at that point, it was basically Blossom was the only chicken, and I was really worried about her because they enjoy being around other chickens. I even considered giving Blossom away to a coworker who has chickens, but my chickens are my pets, and I went ahead and got 2 more golden comets, Wheezy and Maud. So I got Wheezy, Maud, and Blossom, and they get along fantastic. They got the pecking order figured out, and they're the best of buds now. Wheezy and Maud were staying in a different coop, and Blossom was in her coop. Well, about 3 or 4 days ago, Blossom is now sleeping with Wheezy and Maud. So they walk together, they graze together, they get along very, very well. So now I have 3 chickens in 2 coops, so it appears that I need to sell a coop. But ultimately, we'll see what happens. They get along very well, and I couldn't be happier as far as that goes. Quick update on my garden. This is like my 4th year for my garden, and I'm getting a little bit better. I actually have really good looking tomatoes, and I have fantastic looking cucumbers. I am very stoked about these cucumbers, and I've already been able to pick a few, and they taste fantastic. And on hot summer days, I remember my mom and grandmother used to make a cucumber onion salad kind of thing. It was sliced up cucumbers, onions, and I think it was in some sort of vinegar. And my girlfriend mentioned that it should be put in flavored rice vinegar, but I have not been able to find that at some of the local grocery stores. So I did like a sesame flavored rice vinegar, and it turned out okay. But man, there is nothing better on a hot summer's day than grabbing that out of the fridge and eating a couple cucumbers and onions. Very, very refreshing, especially on a super hot day. All right, folks, again, thank you so much for everybody who comes by and listens. Again, I just wanted to thank everybody, take a few minutes, get caught up on some administrative things, and just give you a few updates about what's going on. Now, I have purchased my tickets to Prepper Camp down in Saluda, North Carolina, which is in late September, I believe. And as the date gets closer, I'll let you know a little bit more about that. But if you don't know about Prepper Camp, just go to Google or your favorite search engine and go ahead and Google Prepper Camp 2025. Again, folks, thank you so much. And as I close all my other podcasts, be safe out there, take care of one another, and until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review.